Well, from pork to poultry to beef, Kentucky produces a wide range of livestock. And it's livestock that's the topic of customer support this week.
Good question from Gary Morrison. Recently, I was watching a discussion with a staff member from UC Davis. They were discussing the effects on our environment if we quit eating meat. It isn't going to happen. The subject came up as to the loss of natural chemical fertilizer and how the loss of that would affect crop production. What do you think is the percent of manure versus chemical fertilizer? I have been involved in the livestock industry all of my life, but I would think that the percentage would be very minor. Well, thanks for the question, I think. Please send me an address. This turned out, Gary, to be one of those dreaded story problems. Here we go. According to the USDA, 15.8 million acres have manure applied to them. This represents about 5% of U.S. cropland. Now, how much is applied? The best I can tell you is between 1 to 2 billion tons. It depends on how you measure the liquid fraction and about 20 other variables. My numbers worked out to around 60 tons per acre, which seems unlikely to say the least. So much of that total may be from range animals, for example. Then we get to the really tricky part, the NPK composition of various species wastes. After an hour of searching, I'd either found long eye-glazing reports from ag researchers or quick and easy tables for gardeners. Well, that's my time limit for these kinds of questions, so here are my best guesses. Poultry manure, NPK is 332, swine 0.8, 0.5, 0.7, and cattle 321. This is percentage by weight. Now, according to experts at ISU, typical hog slurry yields about 50 pounds of N per 1,000 gallons using a density of 9 pounds per gallon. This would be 50 pounds per 9,000 pounds of manure, or 0.6%. So the table is at least in the ballpark. As for commercial fertilizer, about 22 million tons are used each year, but the breakdown of the types is even harder to find. So comparing the nutrient application of manure versus fertilizer frankly stumped me. Therefore, a reasonable guess would be around 5% of applied fertilizer is manure. This is based on the acres applied I mentioned at the beginning. What is important is while ending meat consumption would have a tiny effect on crop production due to manure loss, it would have a cataclysmic impact on crop production due to the loss of demand for feed.
But when we come back, supply chain issues really are creating uncharted waters when it comes to used equipment values. We get insight from Machinery Pete next.